Why has Coinbase become one of the most popular crypto exchanges in the world, while others like FTX have imploded and lost investors billions of dollars? Well, there's a number of obvious reasons, but there is one reason in particular that you likely aren't familiar with. In this video, we'll cover what that feature is, how DeSo takes full advantage of it, and why the future of Web3 success depends on it. You won't want to miss this one. So as you might have guessed from the title of this video, we're talking about smart services. To understand why smart services are so important, let's take a look at the story of Coinbase. Coinbase is one of the largest cryptocurrency exchanges in the world, and it was founded by Brian Armstrong, who had a vision for a cryptocurrency exchange that was incredibly accessible and easy to use. At the time, most cryptocurrency exchanges were decentralized and built on top of smart contracts. However, smart contracts have a number of limitations that make it incredibly difficult to build a user-friendly experience. So Armstrong decided to take a different approach. He built Coinbase on top of Web2 APIs and programming languages like JavaScript and Python. This allowed him to create an exchange that was easy to use and accessible to everyone. The approach that Armstrong took with Coinbase is now known as smart services. Smart services are a way of developing Web3 applications that use off-chain computation. This means that the computation that powers the application happens outside of the blockchain. When it comes down to the debate between smart contracts and smart services, the question becomes, when is it useful to use a blockchain versus doing things on a centralized Web2 server? And the reality is, as the future of Web3 unfolds, it is likely that assets and content will be stored on-chain, while computation will move off-chain, effectively rendering smart contracts much less useful than they are today. This change is necessary because smart contracts come with a number of challenges. There are 4 in particular. First is complexity. Smart contracts can be complex to develop and understand. This is because they are written in programming languages that are not as familiar to most developers. Second is cost. Smart contracts can be incredibly expensive to deploy and execute. This is because they were created to store financial transactions rather than content like images and videos. Third is security. Smart contracts can be vulnerable to hacks and exploits. This is because they are open source code, and developers may overlook or underestimate potential security vulnerabilities during the development and auditing process. And last is scalability. Smart contracts can be difficult to scale. This is because data is stored on the blockchain, and as more contracts are deployed and data accumulates, the storage demands grow exponentially. And this is where smart services come into play. Smart services offer a number of advantages over smart contracts. This includes increased accessibility. Smart services can be built using familiar languages and APIs such as JavaScript and Python. This makes them more accessible to developers who are not familiar with smart contract programming languages. Next up is improved interoperability. Smart services can interact with multiple blockchains, which makes it easier to build cross-chain applications. And last is enhanced scalability. Smart services can be scaled more easily than traditional smart contracts because everything does not have to be stored on the blockchain. We are already starting to see applications powered by smart services beginning to excel in the Web3 space. Applications like HeroSwap, an instant and anonymous cross-chain swapper. Check out this video to learn more. Smart services offer a promising way to increase developer accessibility without sacrificing too much decentralization. When deciding between smart contracts and smart services, it's important to remember a few things. First, decentralization is not always necessary. Some applications do not require the same level of decentralization as others. For example, a gaming application may not need to be as decentralized as a financial application. And second, there are ways to increase decentralization without decreasing developer accessibility. For example, smart services can be built on top of decentralized networks, such as IPFS. This can help increase the security and decentralization of smart services. The future of Web3 development is likely to see a more balanced approach between decentralization and developer accessibility. Smart services will be used for applications that require high performance and scalability, while blockchains will be used for applications that require high security and decentralization. Smart contracts will always play an important role in Web3 development, but smart services outperform smart contracts on developer accessibility, interoperability, composability, and scalability. This makes smart services much more appealing to developers, which makes it highly likely that the killer apps will start to be built on smart services going forward rather than smart contracts. Let me know your thoughts on smart contracts versus smart services down in the comments below. And make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. I'll catch you in the next video.